Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be returning to Commander the Great War. We have, fought quite a long ways. We're into May of 1917. The West Front is about as firm a front as I have right now. The East Front, things are going fairly well, and it seems the Russians have pulled some troops out to deal with the Ottoman menace near Kursk, which is rapidly approaching Moscow. Meanwhile, in Italy, things had seemed fine, and we had just taken Rome. However, the one negative is the fact that the Allies have tons of air power here and are steadily driving us back. So there is a legitimate risk of basically being thrown out of Italy and driven back into Austria with all these air units that the Allies have brought to bear. The Italians are, for all intents and purposes, out of the war, but their front is not. And that's where I think this turn I'm going to try and focus with what I have at my disposal. I think one thing I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and drive inland into Italy. According to someone in one of my comments, and I don't know if this is true, but if you take enough Italian terrain, the Italians are knocked out of the war and their territory becomes neutral, so you can no longer fight over it. But the good thing about that is if we can do that, maybe we can get the Allies kicked out of Italy. Or maybe it lets you keep the land you presently have, in which case that won't do us much good. But I'm hoping it kicks us and the Allies out of Italy and allows us to relocate those troops, because frankly, I'd rather those troops be on the Western Front right now, where I've got a little bit more flexibility, than having them in the east, or not east, but in the south, kind of in Italy. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe they're better where they're at, but that's kind of my thought process anyway. Meanwhile, the Eastern Front, we finally took Bucharest, and that's freed up a whole bunch of our troops to move inland and hopefully take out what's left of Romania. That's the goal. The capital up here may be somewhat exposed, and we're hoping we can get around and flank them. If we can do that, we also undermine the entire southern half of the Russian line, and the hope is also that maybe the Russians are bound to collapse as well. We haven't gotten as far inland as the Germans did by this point historically, but we've also captured way more Russian territory in the Caucasus, Sevastopol, and all these territories down here. So the hope is maybe, just maybe, we can knock the Russians out of the war. Meanwhile, in the naval front, the British have made a surprised sortie toward German waters. We've destroyed 2 British cruisers, but are likely to lose this cruiser of ours here that's overexposed. And the British show that they still have quite a few modern battleships ready to sail. I thought we might have taken them down to size, but it looks like at the very least we were wrong, or potentially they've built some new battleships. The one thing with that is we've got a strong battleship in Stettin, but our battleship in Wilhelmshaven is horribly understrengthed. So there's that aspect, and our Zeppelins aren't going to provide us much use there either. I think it might not be a bad idea to pull our Zeppelins off the Western Front, where the Allies have tons and tons of air power, and use them in the Eastern Front, where the Russians really don't have a substantial amount of air power, kind of as mobile artillery. So I think what I'll do is I'll pull them over to Krakow, and we'll go from there. They're going to move over to Krakow, and we'll use them as kind of airborne artillery, because again, they're not going to do much good in the West, where the British have quite a few air units, and so do the French. So I think we've really more or less already gone through our turn, or as best as we can. With one exception, it looks like we can attack this British unit, and let's do that. Okay, I didn't want to take a casualty because this unit's almost certain to be destroyed, but at the very least, we nearly destroyed that British unit and drove them back. Yeah, that wasn't quite the result I was hoping for. I wonder, can we shift any troops to fill that part of the line? Doesn't look like it, otherwise I'd shift these guys over. Meanwhile, I think I'm going to go ahead and purchase a couple of units here. Garrison units are not all that useful, but the fact is we're short on manpower for the Austrians. We need some additional troops to replace some of our losses in Italy, so we'll go ahead and do that. We finally got some German fighters, which are not too far away either from entering the front. We could move here toward Florence, and that would almost certainly invite the bulk of the Allied air units knocking out this German infantry unit, but it would buy us time, perhaps, and slow down any enemy attacks to the east. So actually, now that I think about it, we're going to do that, because it's going to at least cause one of these army units to attack this infantry unit, and maybe all of their air units will get distracted as well and attack it instead. Well, the downside is it does open our front up to being, having a hole in our line that the enemy could exploit. I don't know. We'll do it. Risky, but we'll do it. They're going to be destroyed anyway, so best to go that route, I think, and at least distract these maybe 1 or 2 enemy units as well as a bulk of their air units and keep these other guys fresh. That's my hope anyway. Yeah. And then buy them more time to dig in, hopefully, to withstand the enemy air, whatever it is. Okay. Kind of using that sub out there as a scout. And actually, we've got an army unit here. I wonder if we can move these guys onto ships. Although, yeah, the Russian fleet's probably based out of Odessa. So hopefully... Hopefully, we can drive on Odessa and knock the Russian fleet. Let's see here. Sevastopol's ours, so we can actually sail from Constantinople to Sevastopol. Maybe we can get a better eye on what the Russians have. It doesn't look like they have anything here in the Black Sea. So I think that's going to be just about it. I'm trying to get these troops on ships so we can move them maybe, I don't know, to the Ukrainian front, or maybe move them just more rapidly to Constantinople to redeploy. I can't move them out of there because there's just too many enemy units outside of that area. Anyway, we'll see how that risky move in Italy pays off, and we'll go ahead and end the turn. I didn't just see what happened. Yeah, the enemy destroyed my cruiser near Wilhelmshaven and then attacked my battleship there as well. Inflicting some damage without loss, it appears, on their own ships. But they only knocked out 1. So there's at least that, I suppose, is a positive. But it looks like the Royal Navy is... Oh, they didn't take my bait. Oh. Well, the enemy is more or less broken through our front in Italy now, attacking in now having essentially two breaches in our line. My only hope is to drive further south in Italy and pray that the commenter on my games is right, and that if you take enough territory, Italy becomes neutral and kicks everyone out. Either that or shifting substantial forces from the Eastern Front, but we really don't have a whole lot of extra troops to do that right now. The front line is so long. We really need Russia to collapse right now so we can reconsolidate our forces in the west. But they're still attacking. So that doesn't seem like it's about to happen. The Russians have to be overstretched, though. I mean, they're pulling Romanian troops out to defend Kursk, so, I mean, there's definitely not an abundance of Russian troops anymore. So we've at least worn them down. Meanwhile, all the extra Allied manpower is avoiding the Western Front and heading to the Italian front because they just can't make any headway in the Western Front. They made a little bit of headway. They pushed us back a little bit. We were just a hex or two away from Paris a while ago, but we were obviously overextended at the time as it is. Is that another Allied battleship? They just not... I mean, they just... Ugh. I think this is serving me right for not interdicting Allied convoys at all in the war. It's helped ensure that we haven't gone to war with the United States, but the downside is it means the British have plenty of money for warships. At least we can pull these guys out to Kiel. So we'll do that, and then maybe we can bring this battleship into Wilhelmshaven, and there we go. Yes! Alright, so that was a nice little move. Just destroyed a British battle fleet. Our cruiser did lose 2 of its hit points, but an entire British battleship sinking hurts the British national will by 30%. So that is a huge national will hit at a time where we certainly needed it. Our national will is okay, but hopefully this hurts the British somewhat. You can see here the Allies really have a breakthrough. We almost have to fall back toward Venice at the moment because of how weak our front really is. At least that would be the logical thing to do. We just can't form a cohesive line right now because every time we put new troops in, the Allies break through before we have a chance to essentially entrench. So I'm going to try and take Constania right now, the port in Romania, a Romanian port. I don't want to deploy a whole army unit, so we'll just deploy these guys. Really? They didn't get destroyed yet? Whatever, they'll be gone next turn. We need to... I wish I could pull some troops out and rail them somewhere else. Doesn't look like we have any troops we can do that with. Do we have any production ready? No. What about here? Well, we can rail some German troops. We don't have a whole lot to spare. So we're railing some German troops from the West Front. Hopefully this allows us to take more ground is my goal. Maybe Naples falls next turn. I wonder if I take Naples and Taranto if Italy will fall. It doesn't look like the Italians have any troops in either city, so we should be able to take both cities here in the next turn or so. Meanwhile, we need to reinforce some of these guys. They're probably still too weak to resist much, but we'll do it anyway, just hoping against hope. Meanwhile, the front against... I shouldn't have used those reinforcements there. The front against the Russians here is quickly turning south. We just don't have the manpower to counter these Russian forces. We don't have the reserves to reinforce our guys. Rather than waste that there, I think I'm going to focus on getting those guys in the Sinai back, because Lord knows we can't afford a British breakthrough there. Meanwhile, I don't know what to do with these guys. Actually, it's probably best to bring these guys to Sevastopol. Or not Sevastopol. Sevastopol, maybe? We're going to pull them into Sevastopol so we can send some reinforcements north, hopefully, and get some more guys in the Caucasus region to deal with this enemy force here. Meanwhile, on the Russian front... Oh, these are Bulgarian. Let's reinforce these Bulgarians. So the last remaining Romanian capital in Aisea should fall here hopefully shortly. And what do we want to use these guys against? Guess we can use them against these Russians here. Oh my goodness, the Russians intercepted us with aircraft somehow or something, because yeah, that didn't work out the way I hoped. Nice. Okay. I'm really tempted to sprint my cavalry through, but that's probably not the wisest move. Okay. I mean, if they want to advance in this direction, that'd be stupid of them, so I'll let them let them do that if they want. I'm going to pull these Bulgarians back with the thought of maybe shifting them to the Italian front or kind of acting as a mobile reserve. Hopefully we've got some rail capacity there that we can spare. Meanwhile, I think I'm going to avoid attacking because there's no sense in launching attacks if they're not going to be successful. Okay, so we destroyed that. You know, on the west front, we're going to reinforce these guys because we need to. I think we'll also... No, we don't have the ammo. I was going to say we'd bombard these guys to spoil any attack towards Strasbourg, but we don't have the ammo to do that. Hopefully the 8 is strong enough. These guys are reinforced. They lost more heavily than I had hoped. No, we're not going to attack there. So these guys lost a little bit more than I had hoped in trying to kind of wear these French guys down under Nivelle. And meanwhile, Italy continues to slowly fall under our grasp. Really wish I could get these battleships out and do something with them, but alas, not to be. Meanwhile, we'll have a whole bunch of troops freed up next turn once Constania falls for a drive into kind of Ukraine and hopefully sweeping around the Russian front. Their front line is really thin, so we should be able to start kind of picking off and destroying units, hopefully anyway. Yeah, so the Russians seem on the verge of collapse. Of course, our Ottoman offensive is likewise in trouble. Our Austrian troops, everyone is kind of at the brink of collapse. They're just kind of barely holding things together. We'll get some Austrian troops we can hopefully throw in against the Italians the next turn. Same for our Bulgarian friends. But that's going to end this turn. We'll go ahead and move into April of 1917. The British just sank a merchant ship of ours. We can't afford to be losing merchant ships at this point. And I really hope the French aren't going to land troops behind our lines in Syria and Lebanon, because that's going to be trouble if they do. Somehow those guys in Florence got reinforcements despite being cut off. I don't quite understand that. Meanwhile, it looks like the bulk of the enemy air units are spent on that one German infantry unit, and surprisingly, the Allies didn't break through further in Italy this turn, so that was a good result. Meanwhile, the Russians are putting serious pressure on our front in the Caucasus. We may have to pull those guys back. Those guys are pretty much toast. Fortunately, the Russians are miles and miles away from anything important of ours other than just regaining some of their own territory. The rebels in Palestine, or not Palestine, in Saudi Arabia coming out to play here, it looks like. And a Romanian offensive, perhaps? Or just artillery? Spoiling artillery, I suppose. Nope, actually Romanian attacks. Maybe trying to save their capital against these Austrian troops here that are approaching their capital. Okay, so Strasbourg's in trouble. We held out that turn, but that's probably the last turn those guys will hold out. They need to be relieved. Looks like the British finished destroying that cruiser force we had. So the Royal Navy continues to assault us despite losing a battleship last turn, interestingly enough. Oh no, they didn't destroy it. There's still one left. So pull those guys out. Okay, I'll call that a victory. Inflicting some damage on that British battleship, which is continuing to threaten us near Cuxin, or whatever that city's name is. Meanwhile, the Italian front, somehow these guys are still okay. They're cut off, but yeah, Doing okay, I guess. Alright, so Naples has fallen. Again, I'm really praying that if I take Toronto, Italy will fall out of the war if all they have left is really Sicily. Okay, we're shifting our Italian line a bit. I don't know if I can get here. Come on, guys. Do something successful. What? These guys are surrounded and you can't even hurt them? Are you kidding? Alright, digging these guys in. Not going to waste it on them. Oh, this Austrian battle fleet is so worthless given the fact that they're essentially cut off. You know, the German fleet is reduced to rubble, essentially. We're slowly driving the enemy back toward the Austro-Hungarian border, which we've been stuck behind since the war originally started. Constania falls. Good. Good, good. Oh. Nice. So some heavy, heavy fighting there. But we just destroyed a, was that a Russian unit? I wasn't even paying much attention. In, Romania's pretty much overrun at this point. Romanian troops are losing heavily. Which is just what we want. You know, I can shift the line a bit. Let's see. These guys are ready to go right into the Italian front, I'd say, is where we've got to put them. We'll give these guys, they're in the most vulnerable spot. We'll give them the commander. By the looks of things, Strasbourg is going to fall next turn. We could pull one unit. We could shift the line north and just pray they don't go for the opening. They probably will. But it should at least prevent him from getting in next turn. It'll buy us a turn. No, I don't want to do that. Alright, didn't destroy him, but we did, well, that was kind of, that might have been stupid here is the, well, oh, it's so tempting to just storm out there, but the enemy will probably sweep in behind us and take Königsberg if we do that. We could come so close to cutting them off right now. Anyway, this unit's probably toast. It's going to get the brunt of Russian counterattacks next turn. But I'm starting to pick up the tempo here on the Eastern Front because, one, I'm getting kind of desperate, and two, Just kind of feels like the Russians are ready to break. We don't quite have evidence of it, but it just kind of feels like it. At the very least, they're overextended. Yeah, we're going to have to start pulling these guys out. Oh boy. That's all the money we had, guys. That's it. Sorry. Stupid Palestinians. Just die. Well, East Front's looking good. The Russians I would expect the Romanians to lose Isaiah next turn. The Russians may lose an artillery unit there in the south. And the entire end of the line is kind of outflanked at this point. Meanwhile, the line's getting real porous up north near Warsaw. Have to imagine they're getting toward the breaking point. Wonder if I can rail these guys anywhere. Nice. We're going to rail this Bulgarian infantry unit to Italy. Hopefully to help stabilize that front. And maybe I should have railed them to Strasbourg. Well, too late by now. I already moved those guys. And the Germans have no ammunition. Okay. So the situation is still wishy-washy. Yeah, but I don't have anything I can launch any attacks with anywhere. Lame. 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 Hopefully they don't try and outflank us and take Diplomatisk and cut our entire Ottoman force off. That would be a disaster. Hey, we destroyed a Russian garrison unit. Even though we might have been better off not doing that. Alright, just kind of trying to keep these units, which will probably die next turn, away from too much heavy fighting. Doing as much as we can to keep the Russians busy and inflict casualties on them. I'd pull units out if I could via rail, but I can't. And Bulgaria has no ammo anyway. They can launch like one artillery strike every like 4 years. So make it count. I should just disband these guys. I think that's what I'll do. How do I do that? How do I do that? Is there an experience thing in here? There's got to be a way to disband. Oh, disband. I wonder if you get those guys back into your... I should have looked to see if you get them back into your manpower pool. Oh well. So hopefully next turn we can take Taranto, or maybe not next turn, but the turn after. And then after that, I'm thinking maybe we can drive on Messina and Palermo. I'm not sure if you have to actually throw guys on transports or not. A lot of games generally give you the land bridge, but we'll see. I'm not sure about this one. I could drive. These guys might be better served in the north, but if we can start reeling reinforcements in, like we got these two units, so even if these guys get knocked out, we should be able to continue to stem the tide, hopefully. Holy crap, I didn't realize how close we are to having all these forces in the south cut off if they keep driving for Venice. Yikes, that's bad. That's bad. Yeah, I think we'll end the turn here, and we'll see what happens, and then we'll end the video. Stupid Royal Navy, stop attacking me. Oh my god, are they out to destroy the German fleet at this point? Oh boy, Italian battleship and French battleship off of Gaza. I have to wonder if they're going to launch some kind of amphibious assault. That's making me nervous. And the first Ottoman unit destroyed in our valiant Caucasus offensive. Oh no, now they have armored cars. Where's this Russian army coming from? If they're going to put this many resources to protecting Moscow, I guess, makes sense. But really got to take advantage. Oh my god, another British battleship. Holy crap. Uh-oh. No, not armored cars. That's going to be hard to plug the gap. Oh, crap. Oh, no! Our Italian bridgehead is cut off. All of our forces in the south of Italy cut off. And a general allied offensive in Suez. Oh, my God! Oh, things were going so nicely. We really need Russia to surrender, please. Please have the Russian Revolution. Please. Here, you want Lenin back? We'll ship him your way. More artillery in the south? Huh. Die, Romanians. Don't attack our Ottomans. We're overextended because they... Oh. Maybe they're not going to attack that little breach we had. Danzig might return to German hands next turn. We really could use some of those merchant ships to make it through. Good lord, we need the money. Commander's been wounded in battle. Meanwhile, economic deterioration in the Ottoman Empire. Okay, so I think because we control Rome and it's a capital city, these guys aren't technically cut off. So that's very good. The other nice thing is we can now cut off these guys. Hopefully, assuming they don't just break out next turn. We don't have anything to soften these guys up with. That's the problem. They've got like 1 million air units that they can just ravage our troops. We've got nothing to try and... See? Look at that. Just lost horrible casualties and accomplished nothing. I didn't really mean to use a rail there. Anyway, no, Odessa has Russian troops in it? That's lame. Alright, some good news. Good news. Meanwhile, Romania, you're finished. The capital city of Romania is conquered, and Romania has lost all production capabilities. I wish there was a way you could actually... It doesn't seem like there's a way to knock anyone actually permanently out of the war. Seems like they always come back. They're like zombies. So the southern half of the Russian front is looking very promising indeed. Danzig has been liberated. Hooray! And another Russian nearly destroyed. So, this turns out right so far. Yeah, alright. We need to find a way to close our line there. Just you know, minor issue. Can we rail anyone there? No. Another British cruiser destroyed. I'll take that. Free shots at the enemy. That sub is way too weak to do anything of consequence. Alright, so wasted all our Ottoman money here by reinforcing those guys, but really the last thing we can afford is a breakthrough there. Meanwhile, Sevastopol, we've got some reinforcements, the only reinforcements that we're going to get. And at the very least, we drove the armored cars back. Meanwhile, we're going to pull these guys out, hopefully to rest and recoup. So the Russian front is rapidly deteriorating, but that artillery of ours has come in handy, and we nearly destroyed a Russian armored car unit, so that's good. We've got some reinforcements coming up. Maybe, just maybe, we can hold the line. I don't think I'm going to do anything else here. Italy, I suppose, will keep advancing down the boot. I'm really hoping Taranto is the thing that seals the deal for us. I'm guessing Florence would do it, but we just don't have any way to take Florence. Venice could fall next turn if the enemy really wants to go for it. I think we're going to deploy our fighters here to the west front. Ooh, nice. They give us a really good... I did not realize that fighter aircraft also give you kind of a bird's eye view of the enemy deployments. They're kind of recon. I didn't know that. I haven't had them for so long. I've had such a poorly balanced force for so long. I didn't know what you could do with them. Romanian troops, meanwhile, we've got some commanders. Not ready. Okay, so those guys are wounded. You know what I really should be doing is shifting my line south. It's probably a little bit late for that. Can these guys move that way? No. I just don't understand how these guys are just... Oh, they're cut off, but they're in permanent supply. Go frickin' figure. Alright. So that's just about going to do it. Man, if I had realized how useful these guys are and seen behind enemy lines, I would have got them a long time ago. So the west front is not so hunky-dory. The naval front, the British just continue to get all their ships sunk, but they've got unlimited money to replace them, and our navy is pretty much gone. Yeah, that's where we are right now. At least it's. I think it's boosting our national morale. Retaking Danzig should help, and these losses that we've inflicted on the Russians should help as well. But I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's going to do it for this turn. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.